3 days after the battle with the Devourers, Kolthara found herself in a place that officially did not exist. Hidden inside a massive asteroid at the edge of known space was the secret headquarters of humanity's war effort. Admiral Nam Ki met her at the docking bay. He was an older man with white hair and tired eyes that had seen too much death. His uniform was simple and practical, designed for war rather than ceremony. "Welcome to Command Base 7, Ambassador," he said. "I apologize for the secrecy, but we could not risk the Devourers discovering this location." As they walked through the asteroid base, Kolthara saw the true scale of humanity's hidden war. Thousands of people worked around the clock building weapons, analyzing enemy movements and coordinating battles across dozens of star systems. The base was huge, carved deep into the asteroid's core. There were shipyards where new warships were being built, factories producing advanced weapons, command centers tracking enemy fleets, medical facilities treating wounded soldiers, and memorial walls listing the names of humans who had died fighting an enemy most of the galaxy did not know existed. "How many people know about this war?" Kolthara asked. "Every human adult," Admiral Nam Ki replied. "We voted as a species to fight this threat, even though we knew it would probably mean our extinction." "Your entire species voted to go to war?" "We voted to protect the galaxy. The war was forced on us by an enemy that gives no other choice." Admiral Nam Ki led her to the main command center. It was a vast room filled with displays showing the current state of the conflict. Kolthara could see Devourer fleet movements, human ship positions, and casualty reports from across the battlefront. The numbers were horrifying. In the past 6 months, humans had lost over 200 ships and 30,000 crew members. The Devourers had lost fewer than 50 ships, but they had consumed 17 more worlds. "You are losing," Kolthara observed. "Yes," Admiral Nam Ki agreed. "We expected to lose. The question was never whether we could win. The question was whether we could slow them down long enough to save some of galactic civilization. How much time do you think you can buy?" Admiral Nam Ki studied the tactical displays. "At our current rate of losses, we can probably hold them for 8 months once they reach the populated systems. Maybe 10 months if we are lucky and they make tactical mistakes. That is not very long." "No, but it is long enough for most people to evacuate if they start preparing now." Admiral Nam Ki showed Kolthara detailed plans for the defense of Council space. Humans had been working on these plans for over a year. They knew exactly which worlds could be defended and which would have to be evacuated. They had calculated how many ships they could sacrifice to save each population center. They had even planned evacuation routes to regions of space that might be safe from Devourer fleets. "Admiral, this is incredibly detailed planning. How did you prepare all this without the Council knowing?" "Because we had to assume we would fight, alone. Most species have never faced an existential threat like this. They do not know how to recognize it, and they do not want to believe it is possible." A young officer approached them. "Admiral, we are receiving a priority message from Scout, Fleet Bravo." "Put it through." The main screen showed the face of a human captain. He looked tired and scared. "Admiral, this is Captain Park Jun of the scout ship Watchful Eye. We have just finished reconnaissance of the Kalara sector. The situation is worse than we thought." "Report." "Sir, the Devourers have not just been consuming individual worlds. They have been building something. A massive structure in the center of the sector. It appears to be some kind of construction facility." The screen switched to show images captured by the scout ship. Kolthara gasped when she saw what the Devourers had built. It was a structure the size of a small moon, made from the consumed remains of dozens of worlds. Dark energy crackled around its surface, and thousands of Devourer ships moved around it like insects around a hive. "What is it?" Kolthara asked. "We think it is a ship factory," Captain Park Jun continued. "Our analysis suggests it can produce about 100 new Devourer vessels per month. If this is correct, they will soon have enough ships to attack every populated world in the galaxy simultaneously." Admiral Nam Ki was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Captain, what is your estimate for how long that facility has been operating?" Based on the construction progress and the number of ships, we observed at least 4 months, sir. Then they already have enough ships to overwhelm our defenses completely. Yes, sir. Our current force levels are insufficient to stop what is coming. After the communication ended, Admiral Nam Ki sat down heavily in his chair. For the first time since Kolthara had met him, the human leader looked truly defeated. Admiral, Kolthara said, you have to tell the Council about this immediately. Every species in the galaxy needs to know what is coming. Will they believe us? Will they act quickly enough to make a difference? I do not know, but they have to be given the chance. Admiral Nam Ki called for his senior staff. Within minutes, the command center was filled with human officers and scientists. They looked tired and worried, but they all listened carefully, as Kolthara explained what she needed. I want to present complete evidence to the Galactic Council, she said. Video recordings of the destroyed worlds, combat footage from the battles, analysis of Devourer technology, projections of what will happen when they reach the populated regions. It will take us several hours to compile everything, said Dr. Li Yan, the base's chief scientist. Do it. I will take the evidence to the Council emergency session tomorrow. While the humans prepared the evidence, Admiral Nam Ki showed Kolthara more of the secret base. In one section, she found something that broke her heart. It was a children's area where human families had been evacuated from the outer colonies. Hundreds of children played and went to school while their parents fought and died to protect the galaxy. These children lost their homes to save people they will never meet, Admiral Nam Ki explained. Their parents died to protect species that do not even know their names. Why? Kolthara asked. Why would humans sacrifice so much for strangers? Admiral Nam Ki looked at the playing children. Because we learned something that most species never have to learn. When extinction comes, it does not matter what species you are or where you came from. Death makes everyone equal. And life, any intelligent life, is too precious to let die without a fight. The next morning, Kolthara stood before the full, emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from over 300 species filled the Great Hall. She had never spoken to such an important gathering before. Council members, she began. What I am about to show you will change how we all think about the galaxy. For the past year, humanity has been fighting a war to protect all of us from a threat that could destroy everything we have built. Presented the evidence methodically. Videos of destroyed worlds. Combat footage showing devourers consuming entire star systems. Analysis proving that the enemy was moving toward the heart of galactic civilization. Projections showing that without immediate action, every populated world would be attacked within 18 months. The reaction was immediate and loud. Some representatives accused humans of fabricating evidence to gain military support. Others demanded to know why humans had hidden this threat for so long. A few called for immediate military mobilization. The debate went on for hours. Finally, the council chairman called for order. Ambassador Kolthara, this evidence is disturbing, but many council members question why humans chose to fight this threat alone instead of seeking immediate help. Admiral Nam Ki, who had been waiting outside the hall, was allowed to enter and answer questions. Honorable council members, he said, we tried to report this threat through normal channels, but without direct proof. It was classified as a minor border incident. We could not afford to wait for bureaucratic processes while entire worlds were being destroyed. But surely you could have provided proof earlier. Proof required sending ships into combat with an unknown enemy. We lost hundreds of good people getting the evidence you have seen today. We did not want to risk other species' lives until we understood what we were facing. The debate continued for another day. Finally, the council voted. By a narrow margin, they agreed to mobilize a joint defense force. But the process would take months to organize, and many species wanted to negotiate with the Devourers before committing to military action. After the vote, Kolthara met with Admiral Nam Ki privately. It is not enough, is it? She asked. No, he admitted. By the time the council finishes organizing a response, the Devourers will have reached the core worlds. Most people will die before help arrives. What will humans do? What we have always plan to do. We will fight as hard as we can for as long as we can. We will save everyone we can save, and we will hope that someone somewhere survives to remember that we tried. I am sorry. Do not be sorry, Ambassador. You did everything possible. You gave the galaxy a chance to prepare. That is more than we expected. 3 months later, Kolthara watched from her home world as the first reports came in. The Devourers had reached the inner colonies. Human fleets were fighting desperate battles to defend worlds full of people who barely knew they existed. The humans fought with incredible core. And we need other species to understand that the next year may be the last chance to save galactic civilization. Will they list a Kolthara stood in the lunar archives deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon. These vast underground chambers held the complete history of humanity. Park Hyun had finally agreed to let the ambassadors see the real records after weeks of careful questions and growing trust. The archives were huge. Millions of books, documents, videos, and data files filled endless rows of storage. Professor Baewon, Earth's chief historian, had spent 3 days showing Kolthara around. What the ambassador found was not what anyone expected. I do not understand, Kolthara said, looking at a display showing human wars throughout history. Your people fought constantly for thousands of years. But then, about 200 years ago, you almost completely stopped fighting each other. Why? Professor Baewon was an elderly human with white hair and tired eyes. He had spent his whole life studying how humans learn to live together. He looked at the display thoughtfully. Most species think we became peaceful because we got tired of war. That is not correct. Then why? We stopped fighting each other because we learned to recognize bigger threats. We developed what you might call survival instincts for our entire species. Professor Baewon led Kolthara to another section of the archives. This area contained records of humanity's most dangerous weapons, pictures of destroyed cities, videos of weapons that could kill millions of people, documents about diseases that could wipe out entire continents. These weapons were built during our last major wars, Professor Baewon explained. By the time we finished developing them, we realized something important. What? We had become powerful enough to destroy ourselves completely, not just defeat our enemies, but actually make our species extinct. Kolthara looked at the records with growing horror. The weapons humans had built were terrible beyond imagination. Some could poison entire planets. Others could destroy the atmosphere. A few could make parts of Earth uninhabitable for thousands of years. You actually built weapons that could kill everyone on your planet? Yes. And we came very close to using them several times. Professor Baewon showed Kolthara records of incidents where humans almost destroyed themselves. Political crises that nearly led to global war. Accidents that almost triggered automatic weapon systems. Misunderstandings that brought entire nations to the edge of using their most deadly weapons. But you did not use them. No. We learned to step back from the edge just in time. But the experience changed us. How? Professor Baewon walked to a large screen that showed a timeline of human history. For thousands of years there were constant wars marked in red. But then, about 200 years ago, the red marks almost completely disappeared. We learned to think differently about conflict. Instead of asking, how can we defeat our enemies, we started asking, how can we all survive together? That sounds like you became a peaceful species. No, Ambassador. We became a species that understood existential threats. We learned to recognize when something could destroy us completely, and we developed instincts to respond to such threats. Kolthara was starting to understand something important. And those same instincts are active now? Yes. Professor Baewon led them to another area of the archives. This section was newer and much more heavily guarded. Armed humans stood at every entrance. The computers required special codes to access, and everyone who worked there had the tense, worried look of people dealing with serious threats. This is where we keep our current threat assessment data, Professor Baewon explained. What kind of threats? The kind that could make humans extinct. The kind that could make all intelligent life in the galaxy extinct. They sat down at a secure computer terminal. Professor Wan entered his access codes and pulled up files that made Colthera's blood run cold. The files contained evidence of what humans called sterilization events. Entire star systems where all life had been destroyed, planets burned, down to bare rock, space stations that had simply vanished without any distress calls or evidence of what happened to them. "How long has this been happening?" Colthera asked. "We first noticed the pattern 18 months ago. A few mining colonies went silent. Then some exploration ships failed to report back. At first, we thought it was just equipment failures or pirate attacks, but it was not. No, the pattern was too consistent and too widespread. Something was systematically destroying intelligent life in the outer regions of the galaxy." Professor Wan showed Colthera maps of the affected areas. They formed a rough line moving inward from the edge of known space. Whatever was causing the destruction was getting closer to the more populated regions. "Have you told the Galactic Council about this?" "We tried. But without direct evidence of what was causing the destruction, they classified it as a low-priority investigation. They said it was probably just a series of unrelated accidents." Colthera looked at the data more carefully. The pattern was clear once you knew what to look for. Something was moving through space, destroying everything in its path. And it was heading toward the heart of galactic civilization. "Professor Wan, this looks like an invasion." That was our conclusion too. But an invasion by whom? We have never encountered any species with this level of destructive capability. Professor Wan pulled up another file. This one contained humanity's attempts to investigate the destroyed areas. They had sent robotic probes and long-range scanners to try to figure out what had happened. We found traces of unknown technology at several sites, energy signatures we had never seen before, weapon residues that do not match any known species, and in a few places we found evidence of ships or structures that were completely unlike anything in our databases. Unknown aliens? That is our best guess. A species we have never encountered before, with technology we do not understand, systematically destroying everything in their path. Colthera felt sick. "How many worlds have been destroyed?" "At least 43 confirmed, probably more that we have not discovered yet." "How many people died?" Professor Wan was quiet for a moment. "Conservative estimate? About 15 million intelligent beings." The number was so large that Colthera had trouble understanding it. 15 million people just gone. Entire civilizations wiped out without anyone even knowing it was happening. Why has the Council not detected this threat? Because the Council only monitors the inner regions of the galaxy. The outer rim is considered safe and unimportant. And the beings responsible for this destruction are very good at cleaning up after themselves. They leave almost no evidence behind. But humans found the evidence, because humans were looking for it. Our experience with existential threats taught us to watch for certain patterns. When colonies start disappearing in organized ways, we pay attention. Professor Wan showed Colthera more data. Humans had been quietly investigating the threat for over a year. They had sent scouts to dangerous areas. They had analyzed debris from destroyed worlds. They had tried to track the movements of the unknown attackers. What did you discover? The attackers are not random raiders or pirates. They are organized and methodical. They have a clear plan and they are following it efficiently. They destroy everything in each system completely, then move on to the next target. What is their plan? As far as we can tell, they are clearing a path through the galaxy, removing all intelligent life from a wide corridor of space. A corridor leading where? Professor Wan pulled up a galactic map. The destroyed worlds formed a line pointing directly toward the most populated regions of Council space. "Here," he said simply. "They are coming here." Colthera stared at the map. The unknown attackers were moving steadily toward the heart of galactic civilization. At their current rate of progress, they would reach the major worlds in less than 2 years. How many people live in their target area? Professor Wan did the calculation on his computer. Approximately 8 billion intelligent beings across 400 worlds. 8 billion people. The entire galactic civilization that Colthera had spent her life serving was in the path of an enemy that had already proven they could destroy entire worlds without leaving witnesses. Professor Wan, You have to report this to the Council immediately. They need to mobilize the entire Galactic Defense Force. We have been trying to get their attention for months. But without proof of who the attackers are or direct evidence of their capabilities, the Council considers this a minor border incident. This is not a minor incident. This is an extinction-level threat. Yes, but most Council members have never faced an extinction-level threat before. They do not know how to recognize one, and they do not want to believe that such a thing is possible. Kolthara understood now why humans seemed so heavily armed. They were not preparing for war. They were preparing for the survival of intelligent life in the galaxy. What are humans doing about this threat? Professor Bei Wan pulled up another set of files. These showed human military preparations over the past year. The scale was enormous. Every human ship now carries military-grade weapons. Every human colony is being converted into a fortress. Every human citizen is receiving combat training. We are building weapons and defenses as quickly as possible. Are you planning to fight this enemy alone? We are planning. A week later, Kolthara arrived at New Busan Colony. This was humanity's first official settlement in Council space. Park Hyun had arranged the visit to show how humans lived when they were not on ships or stations. The shuttle flew over green fields and small buildings. From the air, it looked like a peaceful farming community. There were crops growing in neat rows. Animals grazed in fenced areas. Children played in small parks. It seemed like exactly what humans claim to be. A simple, peaceful people who just wanted to live quiet lives. But as the shuttle got closer to landing, Kolthara noticed things that did not fit. The fields had clear lines of sight in all directions. The buildings were spaced far apart with open ground between them. The roads were straight and wide enough for military vehicles, and every building had thick walls and small windows. The shuttle landed at what looked like a normal landing pad. But Kolthara could see that it was designed to handle military ships too. The surface was reinforced. There were fuel lines that could supply warships, and hidden under covers around the edge there were weapon emplacements. A woman walked over to meet them. She was middle-aged with kind eyes and a warm smile. She wore simple clothes like a farmer or local official, but she moved with the confidence of someone used to giving orders. "Welcome to New Busan," she said. "I am Governor Choi Min. We are honored to have you visit our home." They shook hands. Governor Choi Min seemed genuinely happy to meet Kolthara, but the ambassador noticed that even this friendly governor wore armor under her clothes and carried at least 2 hidden weapons. "Thank you for having me," Kolthara said. "I have heard good things about your colony. We are proud of what we have built here. Would you like a tour? I think you will see that humans can be good neighbors." They walked through the colony together. Governor Choi Min pointed out the different areas. There were farms that grew food for the settlement, workshops where people made tools and furniture, schools where children learned, medical centers where doctors took care of the sick. Everything looked normal and peaceful. But Kolthara kept noticing strange details. The farm equipment was built too strong and could be converted to weapons quickly. The workshops had the tools needed to make military supplies. The schools taught children how to use computers and machinery that seemed more advanced than needed. And the medical centers were designed to treat combat injuries. "Governor Choi Min," Kolthara said, "your colony is very well organized, but it seems designed for more than just farming." "What do you mean?" "Your buildings are positioned like military bases. Your equipment can be converted to weapons. Your people all seem to have combat training. This looks more like a fortress than a farming community." Governor Choi Min stopped walking. She looked at Kolthara for a moment. "Ambassador, do you know how humans choose where to build colonies? I assume you look for good farming land and natural resources. Those things matter. But first we look for places that can be defended. We look for high ground, clear sightlines, natural barriers, and multiple escape routes. Then we worry about farming." "Why?" "Because a colony that cannot protect itself will not survive long enough to grow food." They continued walking. Governor Choi Min showed Kolthara the residential areas where families lived. The houses were small but comfortable. Children played outside while their parents worked. It should have felt peaceful and safe. But every house was built like a small fort. The doors were thick metal, not wood. The windows had blast shields that could close quickly. And between the houses there were hidden bunkers and weapon storage areas. Even your homes are designed for war, Kolthara observed. They are designed for survival, Governor Choi Min corrected. There is a difference. They stopped at a playground where human children were playing games, but Kolthara noticed that the games involved teamwork, strategy, and quick thinking. The playground equipment was designed to teach climbing, hiding, and moving quietly. Even the youngest children were learning skills that could be useful in combat. Do you train your children to be soldiers? We train our children to be survivors, Governor Choi Min said. We hope they never need those skills, but if they do need them, we want them to be ready. A man walked over to join them. He was tall and thin with gray hair and gentle eyes. He wore a lab coat and carried a tablet computer. This is Dr. Yoon Soo, Governor Choi Min said. He runs our research facilities. Perhaps he can answer some of your questions. Dr. Yoon Soo smiled and shook Kolthara's hand. Pleased to meet you, Ambassador. I have heard you are interested in how humans live. I am trying to understand why humans seem so focused on defense and weapons, even in a peaceful colony like this. Dr. Yoon Soo and Governor Choi Min exchanged a look. Would you like to see our research center? Dr. Yoon Soo asked. It might help explain some things. They walked to a building that looked like a normal laboratory from outside. But when they went inside, Kolthara saw equipment that had nothing to do with farming or colony life. There were computers running complex calculations, machines that tested materials for strength and heat resistance, and in one room, people were clearly working on weapon designs. Dr. Yoon Soo, this is not agricultural research. Some of it is, he said. We are developing better ways to grow food and purify water, but you are right that we also work on other projects. What kind of projects? Dr. Yoon Soo led them to a room full of engineers working on technical drawings. The designs on the screens showed ships, weapons, and defense systems. We are trying to solve problems, Dr. Yoon Soo said. Engineering problems that could save lives. Whose lives? Anyone who needs saving. Kolthara was getting frustrated with the vague answers. Dr. Yoon Soo, Governor Choi Min, I have been asking humans for weeks why they are so heavily armed. Everyone gives me different answers, but no one tells me the real truth. What are you preparing for? The two humans looked at each other again. Dr. Yoon Soo spoke first. Ambassador, what do you know about human history? Some. You had many wars, but eventually learned to live in peace. You developed space travel and decided to join the galactic community. That is the simple version, but it leaves out the most important part, which is, humans did not just learn to live in peace. We learned to recognize existential threats. What does that mean? Governor Choi Min sat down at a table and gestured for Kolthara to join her. Ambassador, most species develop gradually. They have small conflicts, make small improvements, and slowly become more advanced. But humans had a different experience. Different how? We developed the ability to destroy ourselves completely before we learned how to live together peacefully. For decades, our entire species was one mistake away from extinction. Dr. Yoon Soo pulled up images on his tablet. They showed weapons from Earth's history, bombs that could level cities, diseases that could kill millions, poisons that could make entire continents uninhabitable. We learned to build these weapons while we were still fighting each other, he said. We came very close to using them many times, but you did not use them. You learned to be peaceful instead. Yes, but not because we became pacifists. We became peaceful because we learned to recognize when our survival was threatened. We developed instincts for detecting existential danger. Kolthara was beginning to understand. And those instincts are telling you that something is dangerous now. Yes. What? Governor Choi Min stood up and walked to a window. Outside, colonists were working in the fields and children were playing. Everything looked peaceful. Ambassador, when humans first started exploring space, we expected to find other species like us. Species that had learned hard lessons about survival. Species that understood what it meant to face extinction. And you did not find that? Most species we have met are innocent. They have never faced a real threat to their existence. They think the universe is basically safe and friendly. Is that wrong? Dr. Yoon Soo joined Governor Choi Min at the window. For most species, in most places, at most times it has been true. The galaxy is usually peaceful. The Council does a good job of preventing major conflicts. But not always? No, not always. And when a real threat appears, most species are not prepared for it. What kind of threat are you talking about? The two humans were quiet for a long moment. Finally, Governor Choi Min spoke. The kind of threat that does not negotiate. The kind that does not want to coexist. The kind that sees other species only as resources to be consumed. Kolthara felt a chill. Are you saying there is such a threat, now? We are saying that humans have learned to prepare for such threats before they become obvious to everyone else. But if there really was a danger like that, the Council would know about it. Dr. Yoon Soo shook his head. The Council knows about political threats, military threats, economic threats. But they are not looking for existential threats, because they have never faced one. And humans have? Humans have lived with the possibility of extinction for so long that we know how to recognize the signs. We know what to look for. And we know how to prepare. Governor Choi Min turned away from the window. Ambassador, every human colony, every human ship, every human settlement is designed to serve two purposes. First, to be a peaceful home for our people. Second, to be a fortress that can help defend against threats that want to destroy everything. So New Busan is not really a farming colony. It is a farming colony. But if necessary, it could become. 3 days later, Kolthara stood in the docking bay of trade hub Nexus Prime. This was the biggest trading station in the sector. Ships from across the galaxy came here to buy and sell goods. If humans were really just peaceful traders, this would be the best place to see their true nature. Park Hyun had arranged for Kolthara to meet some human merchants. He said they would answer questions about human trading and explain why their ships needed so many weapons. The first ship looked normal from the outside. It was painted white with blue stripes. The name Lucky Dragon was written in several languages on the side. But when Kolthara got closer, things looked strange. The ship's hull was too thick for a cargo vessel. The engine ports were bigger than needed for carrying goods, and there were small holes in the hull that looked like weapon mounts. A woman walked down the ship's ramp. She was short with black hair tied back in a simple style. She wore work clothes that were clean but well used. She smiled when she saw Kolthara. "Hello," she said. "I am Kim Jun. I run trade missions for Earth Corporation. You must be the ambassador Park Hyun told me about." They shook hands. Kim Jun's hands were rough from work, but her grip was stronger than it should be for someone who just moved cargo around. "Thank you for meeting me," Kolthara said. "I hope you can help me understand human trading better." "Happy to help. Would you like to see my ship? I just came back from the Outer Rim. Good trading out there if you know what you are doing." They walked up the ramp into the ship. The inside looked like a normal cargo vessel at first. There were big empty rooms for storing goods. There were living spaces for the crew. There was a kitchen and places to sleep. But Kolthara noticed other things. The walls had extra metal plates welded on. The doors were thicker than normal and had heavy locks. And in one room, Kolthara saw something that made no sense for a trading ship. It was full of weapons. Big weapons. Guns that could destroy other ships, bombs that could level buildings, equipment that belonged on military vessels, not cargo haulers. "Why does your trading ship have a weapons room?" Kolthara asked. Kim Jun looked uncomfortable. "Well, space is dangerous. Pirates attack trading ships all the time. We need to protect ourselves and our cargo. But these weapons could destroy a battleship. What kind of pirates need this much firepower to stop?" "You would be surprised," Kim Jun said. "Some pirates have very good ships." They continued the tour. In the engine room, Kolthara saw more strange things. The engines were military grade, designed for quick escapes and high-speed chases. The power systems could run weapons and shields at the same time. And hidden behind some panels there were more weapons. "Kim Jun, Colthera said. This is not a trading ship. This is a warship disguised as a trading ship. Kim June stopped walking. She turned around and looked at the ambassador. What makes you think that? The weapons, the armor, the engines, the crew spaces designed for soldiers, not traders. Everything about this ship is built for war. Kim June was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. Ambassador, can I ask you something? How many species have you met who were really, truly afraid? Afraid of what? Afraid that they might not exist tomorrow. Afraid that everything they love could be destroyed while they sleep. Afraid that there are things in the dark that want to eat them. Colthera thought about it. Most species feel safe under council protection. Fear like that is rare. Then most species have been lucky, Kim June said. Come on, I want you to meet my partner. They left Kim June's ship and walked to another vessel nearby. This one was bigger and painted black with red markings. The name Starhammer was written in human letters. Like the other ship, it looked wrong for a trading vessel. A woman came out to meet them. She was tall, with short hair, and wore a uniform that looked more military than civilian. She moved like a soldier and watched everything around her. This is Lee Hana, Kim June said. She runs long-distance trading missions to unexplored systems. Pleasure to meet you, Lee Hana said. But her eyes never stopped moving, always checking for threats. Lee Hana, the ambassador, is asking about our ships. She wants to know why we carry so many weapons. Lee Hana looked at Colthara for a long moment. How much has she been told? Nothing yet. Park Hyun wants to wait. Wait for what? Colthara asked. Lee Hana walked toward her ship. Come inside. I want to show you something. The Starhammer's interior was even more obviously military than the Lucky Dragon. The crew areas had weapon racks. The cargo holds had blast shields. The bridge looked like it belonged on a warship. But what really caught Colthera's attention was the crew. There were 12 humans working on the ship. Every single one of them moved like a trained soldier. They had scars from fights. They wore equipment that was clearly military. And they all carried enough weapons to arm a small army. Lee Hana, Colthara said, your crew are not traders, they are soldiers. They are both, Lee Hana replied. We trade goods when we can, but we also do other things. What other things? Lee Hana led them to a room full of computers and communication equipment. On the screens, Colthera could see maps of star systems. Some areas were marked in green, others were marked in yellow, and some areas were marked in red with warning symbols. We map dangerous areas, Lee Hana said. We find places where ships have gone missing. We investigate strange signals, and we report back to Earth about what we find. That sounds like military scouting, not trading. Maybe, but someone needs to do it. One of Lee Hana's crew members walked over. He was a big man with gray hair and old scars on his face. He wore a captain's uniform. This is Captain Ro Sung, Lee Hana said. He has been exploring unknown systems for 2 years. Captain Ro Sung looked at Colthara with serious eyes. Ambassador, can I ask what you know about the Outer Rim? It is the edge of known space. Some unexplored systems, a few mining colonies, not much else. When was the last time anyone heard from the mining colonies? Colthara thought about it. I am not sure. A few months ago, maybe? Try 8 months, Captain Ro Sung said. 17 colonies. All went silent around the same time. No distress calls, no emergency signals. They just stopped talking. Perhaps their communication equipment broke. All 17 colonies? At the same time? That would be quite a coincidence. Colthara felt worried. Are you saying something happened to them? The 3 humans looked at each other. Kim June spoke first. Ambassador, what would you do if you found evidence that something was destroying entire colonies? Report it to the council immediately. They would send investigation teams and military support if needed. And how long would that take? Several weeks for the investigation. Months to organize a military response if one was needed. What if there was no time to wait for the council? Lee Hana asked. What if the threat was moving fast and would destroy more colonies while everyone was having meetings? Colthara was starting to understand. Are you saying humans have been investigating these missing colonies on your own? Someone had to, Captain Sung said. We could not just wait and hope the problem would go away. What did you find? The humans were quiet again. Finally, Lee Hana walked to one of the computers and pulled up a video file. This is from a probe we sent to the Kalara system. It used to have a mining colony with 3,000 people. The video showed a planet from space. Where there should have been a colony, there was nothing. The ground was bare rock, no buildings, no people, no signs that anyone had ever lived there. Maybe they evacuated, Colthera suggested. Look closer, Lee Hana said. The video zoomed in. The rock was not natural. It looked like something had melted the entire surface of the planet. Everything had been burned away down to bare stone. What could do this? We do not know yet, Captain Sung said, but we found the same thing at 6 other colony sites. Complete destruction, no survivors, no evidence of what caused it. Colthera felt scared. Have you reported this to the council? We tried, Kim Jun said, but without proof of who did it. They said it was not a priority. They have other concerns. So you have been investigating on your own? Yes, and fighting when we had to. Fighting. What? Lee Hana pulled up another file. This one showed space combat footage. Human ships were fighting something, but the enemy vessels were hard to see clearly. They were dark and moved in strange ways. We call them shadows, Captain Sung said. We have only fought small groups so far, but there are signs that bigger fleets are coming. How many humans know about this? Most of us, Kim Jun said. Earth Command has been preparing for months. Every human ship carries military weapons now. Every colony has defense systems. Every trading mission is also a scouting mission. That is why you are so heavily armed. Yes. We are not preparing for war, Ambassador. We are already fighting one. The question is whether anyone else will help us before it is too late. Colthera looked at the 3 humans. They seemed tired and worried. These were not warlike people who loved fighting. They were scared people who were trying to protect their families and friends. Why have you not told other species about this threat? Would they believe us? Lee Hana asked. Would your people send ships to fight an enemy you have never seen, based on stories from humans you just met? Colthera thought about it. Honest Ambassador Colthera stepped off the transport ship and looked around the massive space station. Harmony 7 was one of the biggest diplomatic stations in the galaxy. Ships from hundreds of worlds came here to talk and make deals. The ambassador had been to many places, but this visit felt different. Today, Colthera would meet the humans for the first time. The Galactic Council had voted to let humans join 3 months ago. It was a big decision. Most new species had to wait years to prove they were ready. But humans had impressed everyone with their technology and their peaceful words. They seemed like good people who wanted to help make the galaxy better. But the reports worried Colthera. Every single document about humans mentioned the same strange thing. They carried too many weapons. Way too many weapons for a peaceful species. Colthera walked through the station's main hall. Aliens from dozens of worlds moved around, talking in their own languages. Some had fur, some had scales, and some looked like walking plants. The ambassador had seen them all before. But when a group of humans walked by, Colthera stopped and stared. They looked normal enough. 2 arms, 2 legs, hair on their heads. Not very big or strong compared to other species. But something was wrong with what they wore. Their clothes looked too thick. Their boots seemed too heavy. And every human had small bulges under their jackets. Weapons. Hidden weapons. The humans smiled and waved as they passed. They seemed friendly. But why did they need to carry guns to a peaceful meeting? Colthera found the meeting room and waited. Soon the door opened, and a human walked in. He was tall, with black hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple blue suit, but like the others, his clothes looked too thick. Hello, the human said with a big smile. I am Park Hyun, Earth's main diplomat here. You must be Ambassador Colthera. I have heard many good things about you. They shook hands. Park Hyun's grip was firm but gentle. He seemed nice enough. But Colthera could feel something hard under the human's jacket. Definitely a weapon. Thank you for meeting me, Kolthara said. I am here to do the species assessment. It is something we do for all new council members. Just some questions and observations. Of course, Park Hyun said. We want to help in any way we can. Humans are excited to be part of the council. We have much to offer and much to learn. They sat down at a round table. Kolthara pulled out a datapad and started reading the first questions. Let me start with something simple. What does your species value most? Park Hyun thought for a moment. Peace, he said. We value peace above all else. For too long, humans fought each other. But we learned that working together is better than fighting. That is why we want to join the galactic community. Kolthara made notes. The answer sounded good. But it did not match what the report said. The reports mentioned that humans carry many personal weapons. Can you explain this? Park Hyun's smile got a little smaller. Weapons. Well, space can be dangerous. There are pirates and wild animals on some planets. We like to be ready for anything. But even here, on this peaceful station, your people carry guns. Why? Habits, I suppose, Park Hyun said. Old habits are hard to break, but I promise you, humans only use weapons to protect ourselves and others. Kolthara was not convinced. The ambassador had met many species who carried weapons for protection, but humans seemed to carry enough weapons to fight a small war. Perhaps we could have dinner tonight, Park Hyun suggested. I would like you to meet more of our people. You will see that we are not dangerous. That evening, Kolthara went to the human section of the station. It was clean and well organized. Humans had only been here for a few weeks, but they had already made their area feel like home. Pictures of Earth hung on the walls. The smell of their food filled the air. But Kolthara noticed other things too. The walls looked thicker than normal. The windows had special glass that could stop bullets. Even the furniture seemed built to last through a fight. In the dining hall, 20 humans sat around a big table. They all smiled and welcomed Kolthara warmly. Park Hyun introduced everyone. There was Kim Jun, a trade expert, Lee Hana, a scientist, Captain Ro Sung, who flew supply ships, Dr. Yoon Soo, who studied alien cultures. They all seemed nice. They asked questions about Kolthara's homeworld. They shared stories about Earth. They laughed at each other's jokes. But as the evening went on, Kolthara saw more troubling things. Kim Jun wore a thick belt that was clearly armor. Lee Hana had small scars on her hands that looked like weapon training marks. Captain Ro Sung moved like a soldier, not a cargo pilot. And Dr. Yoon Soo kept checking a device on her wrist that looked like a military scanner. Every human at the table was armed. Kolthara could see the shapes of guns, knives, and other weapons hidden under their clothes. Some had backup weapons. A few had what looked like small bombs. Why do you all carry so many weapons? Kolthara finally asked. The humans stopped talking. They looked at each other. Park Hyun cleared his throat. As I said before, space is dangerous. We have learned to be prepared. But this level of armament suggests a warrior culture. Yet you claim to be peaceful. We are peaceful, Lee Hana said quickly. We do not start fights. We do not attack others. We only want to protect ourselves and our friends. Then why does every human I have seen carry enough weapons to destroy this entire dining hall? The silence stretched on. The humans looked uncomfortable. Finally, Captain Ro Sung spoke. Ambassador, have you ever been really afraid? Not just worried or nervous, but truly terrified that everything you care about might be destroyed? Kolthara thought about it. Not really. The Council keeps peace in the galaxy. Most species live safely. Then you are lucky, Captain Ro Sung said softly. Some of us have not been so lucky. What does that mean? Park Hyun held up a hand. Captain, perhaps we should not discuss this now. But Captain Ro Sung continued. It means that sometimes being peaceful is not enough. Sometimes you need to be strong to keep the peace. Kolthara was getting frustrated. But strong enough for what? The galaxy is at peace. There are no major wars. What are you preparing for? The humans exchanged more looks. Dr. Yoon Soo leaned forward. Ambassador, How well do you know the history of species who joined the Council? Quite well. I have studied many worlds and cultures. Then you know that most species develop space travel, explore nearby systems, meet other aliens, and then join the Council. It is a nice, simple path. Yes, that is the normal way. Humans did not have a normal path. Dr. Yun Su said, "We developed space travel differently. We explored for different reasons. And we discovered things that most species never see." "What kind of things?" Park Hyun stood up. "Perhaps this conversation should wait. Ambassador Kolthara is here to do a routine assessment. We should not burden her with our concerns." But Kolthara was curious now. "No, please continue. What did humans discover that other species did not?" The humans were quiet again. Finally, Lee Hana spoke. "We discovered that the galaxy is not as safe as it appears. There are threats out there. Big threats. Threats that could destroy everything we care about." "What threats?" "The Council monitors all hostile species. We would know about any real dangers." "Would you?" Kim Jun asked. "The Council only knows about threats that survive long enough to be reported. What about the threats that destroy entire worlds before anyone can send a warning?" Kolthara felt a chill. "Are you saying there are hostile aliens that the Council does not know about?" Park Hyun stood up quickly. "I think we have said enough for tonight. Ambassador, perhaps you would like to rest? Tomorrow I can show you our trade agreements and cultural exchange programs." But Kolthara was not ready to stop. "Answer my question. Are there unknown threats in the galaxy?" The humans looked at Park Hyun. He sighed. "Ambassador, humans carry weapons because we believe in being prepared. We hope we never need them. But if we do need them, we want to have enough to protect not just ourselves, but our friends too." "That still does not answer my question." "Some questions," Park Hyun said sadly, "have answers that change everything. Are you sure you want to know?" Kolthara looked around the table at 20 heavily armed humans who claimed to be peaceful. Something big was happening here. Something the reports had not prepared the ambassador for. "Yes," Kolthara said firmly. "I want to know the truth." Park Hyun nodded slowly. "Then perhaps it is time you met some of our other people. But I warn you, Ambassador, once you learn the truth about why humans are so heavily armed, you will never see the galaxy the same way again." The room was silent, except for the soft hum of the station's engines. Outside the windows, stars twinkled peacefully in the darkness. But somehow they did not seem as safe as they had before. 2 weeks after visiting the archives, Kolthara stood on the bridge of the human ship, Deep Explorer. She had demanded to see the threat for herself. If humans claimed there was an enemy destroying worlds, she wanted proof that would convince the Galactic Council. Captain Gang Min was a serious man with gray hair and scars on his hands from combat. His ship looked like a research vessel from the outside, but Kolthara now knew better. The Deep Explorer was a heavily armed warship disguised as a science ship. "Are you sure you want to do this, Ambassador?" Captain Gang Min asked. "Where we are going is dangerous. If we encounter the enemy, we might not make it back." "I need to see the evidence with my own eyes," Kolthara replied. "The Council will not act based on reports alone. They need proof." Captain Gang Min nodded grimly. "Then we will show you proof. But I warn you, what you are about to see will change how you think about the galaxy forever." The ship left the safety of Council space and headed toward the outer rim. For 3 days they traveled through increasingly empty regions. Systems that should have had mining stations or small colonies were completely silent. No ships, no signals, no signs of life anywhere. On the 4th day, they reached the edge of what humans called the dead zone. This was an area where 17 worlds had gone completely silent over the past year. "The first world we will visit is called Refuge," Captain Gang Min explained. It was a small colony with about 8,000 people. They were peaceful farmers and miners. No military, no weapons, no enemies that we knew about. The ship approached Refuge carefully. Long-range scanners showed that the planet was still there, but something was wrong. There were no orbital stations, no communication signals, no energy. Readings from the surface. Take us into orbit, Captain Gang Min ordered. What they saw from space made Colthera feel sick. The planet's surface was completely bare. Where there should have been cities and farms, there was only smooth rock. It looked like someone had melted everything down to bedrock. What happened here? Colthera whispered. Watch this, Captain, Gang Min said. He ordered his crew to launch scanning probes toward the surface. The probes sent back detailed images as they got closer. The rock was not natural. It had been melted by intense heat, then cooled into glass-smooth sheets. Nothing remained of the 8,000 people who had lived here. No buildings, no vehicles, no bodies. Everything had been completely destroyed. The temperature readings show that the surface was heated to over 3,000 degrees, the ship's science officer reported. Nothing organic could survive that. Who could do this? Colthera asked. That is what we are here to find out, Captain Gang Min replied. We have been tracking the beings responsible for over 6 months now. We call them devourers. Devourers, because they do not just destroy things, they consume them. Watch this. Captain Gang Min showed Colthera recordings from previous scouting missions. The video showed dark ships attacking colonies, but instead of just destroying them, the attacking ships seemed to eat everything. Buildings, vehicles, even the ground itself was somehow absorbed into the enemy vessels. They do not destroy for military reasons or territorial conquest, Captain Gang Min explained. They destroy to feed. They consume entire worlds to power their ships and grow their fleet. How? Do you know this? Because we have been fighting them. Captain Gang Min ordered the ship to move to another dead world. This one had been a mining station in an asteroid field. When they arrived, they found the asteroids were gone too. The entire system had been stripped clean. This system had enough raw materials to supply a dozen worlds, Captain Gang Min said. Now there is nothing. They took everything. As they were scanning the empty system, alarms began sounding on the ship's bridge. Captain, we have contacts approaching, the sensor officer reported. Multiple ships coming in fast. Battle stations, Captain Gang Min ordered. Ambassador, you might want to hold on to something. Colthera watched in terror as dark shapes appeared on the main screen. The enemy ships were like nothing she had ever seen. They were black as space itself, with no clear design or structure. They seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. There are 12 of them, the weapons officer reported. They are moving faster than our ship can travel. Begin evasive maneuvers, Captain Gang Min ordered. Charge all weapons. The Deep Explorer suddenly revealed its true nature. Hidden weapon ports opened along the hull. Missile launchers emerged from concealed compartments. Energy cannons powered up with a deep humming sound. The enemy ships attacked without warning or communication. They fired beams of dark energy that seemed to eat holes in space itself. Where the beams hit asteroids, the rocks simply vanished. Return fire, Captain Gang Min shouted. The human ship fought back with everything it had. Missiles streaked toward the enemy vessels. Energy cannons fired continuous beams of destruction. Nuclear weapons detonated in brilliant flashes. But the enemy ships seemed to absorb the damage. The dark hulls rippled where human weapons hit them, but they did not slow down or retreat. Our weapons are not working, the weapons officer reported. Keep firing, Captain Gang Min ordered. Use everything we have. For 20 minutes the battle raged. The Deep Explorer used weapons that could destroy entire cities. The enemy ships continued to attack, trying to get close enough to begin their feeding process. Just when it seemed like the human ship would be overwhelmed, help arrived. Captain, we have reinforcements coming in, the communications officer reported. 3 human vessels approaching fast. The new ships were clearly military vessels with no attempt to disguise their purpose. They were covered in weapons and armor. As soon as they arrived, they began attacking the enemy with coordinated precision. This is Commander Oh Yan of the Strike Force Alpha, came a voice over the radio. We are engaging the enemy. Deep Explorer, withdraw to safe distance and observe. Colthera watched as the human warships fought the Devourers. The battle was brutal and deadly. The human ships used weapons she had never seen before. Some fired beams that seemed to tear reality apart. Others launched missiles that created miniature black holes when they exploded. But even with their advanced weapons, the humans struggled against the enemy. 2 of the human warships were badly damaged. The third was nearly destroyed before the Devourers finally retreated. Why did they retreat? Kolthara asked. Because we hurt them enough that the cost was getting too high, Captain Gang Min replied. Devourers are efficient. They do not waste resources on battles they cannot win easily. Commander Oyeon's ship docked with the Deep Explorer for emergency repairs. When she came aboard, Kolthara saw that she was a young woman with burn scars on her face and arms. Her uniform was torn and bloody from the fight. Commander, what is the current situation? Captain Gang Min asked. Bad and getting worse, Commander Oyeon replied. We have confirmed Devourer fleets in 47 systems now. They are moving faster than we expected. Our best estimate is that they will reach the inner colonies in 18 months. How many ships do they have? At least 3,000 that we have identified, probably more. And they are building new ships from the materials they consume. Kolthara could hardly believe what she was hearing. 3,000 ships? How many ships? Do humans have to fight them? Commander Oyeon and Captain Gang Min looked at each other sadly. About 800 combat-ready vessels, Commander Oyeon said. We are building more as fast as we can, but we do not have enough time or resources. Then you cannot win. No, Commander Oyeon agreed. We cannot win, but we can slow them down. We can make them pay a high price for every world they take. And we can buy time for the populated regions to prepare defenses or evacuate. How long can you hold them? Maybe 6 months once they reach the main colonies. Maybe less if they bring their full fleet to bear. Kolthara felt the weight of what she had learned. An enemy that could destroy entire worlds was moving toward the heart of galactic civilization. Only humans were fighting them, and humans could not win. Why are you doing this? She asked. Why are humans willing to die for species that do not even know you are protecting them? Captain Gang Min looked out at the empty system where 8,000 people had once lived. Because if we do not fight, everyone dies anyway. At least this way some people might survive long enough to find a solution, Commander Oyeon added. Humans learned a long time ago that sometimes the only choice is between dying for something important or watching everything you care about get destroyed. But there must be another way, some way to negotiate or find peace. Ambassador, Commander Oyeon said gently, you have seen what Devourers do to worlds. They do not negotiate. They do not want territory or resources they can trade for. They want to consume everything living in the galaxy. There is no compromise possible with a species that sees you as food. As they traveled back toward Council Space, Kolthara tried to process what she had witnessed. Humans were fighting a war that most of the galaxy did not even know was happening. They were sacrificing their ships and their lives to protect people who would never thank them for it. What do you need from the rest of us? She asked. Time, Captain Gang Min said. We need the Council to start building defenses and preparing evacuation plans.